Hello and welcome to CCHW, stands for Christ Church of the Holy Word, and this is our study, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, of the New Testament. We're covering the book of Acts, and tonight we are going to cover chapter 27 in this great book. Now, Paul has appealed to Agrippa as a Roman citizen because he was on the verge of being killed by the Kenites. And so he pulled his ace out of his pocket. He said, "Hey, I'm a Roman. Is this okay to be doing this to me?" And that changed everything. And although Agrippa found no wrongdoing in Paul's actions, because Paul has already made this appeal as a Roman citizen, Agrippa is going to be sending Paul to Rome. And if you will remember, this was exactly what God told Paul was going to happen. Because God told him that he needed to go preach the gospel in Rome, just like he had done in Asia. So, let's get going. Agrippa has sent Paul off to Rome. Let's pick it up, chapter 27, verse 1, and verse 1 reads, "And when it was determined that we should sail to Italy, they delivered," now remember this "we," that means Luke is along with him, because Luke's the author of this. So when it was determined that me and Paul, and whoever else was along for the trip, should sail into Italy, they delivered Paul and certain other prisoners unto one named Julius, a centurion of Augustus's band. So this centurion was high up in the Roman standing, and he was going to be in charge of Paul. Verse 2. "And entering into a ship of Adramanthium, we launched," meaning to sail, "by the coasts of Asia, one Tarsius, a Macedonian of Thessalonia, being with us." So there was a Thessalonian along with him. Verse 3, "And the next day we touched down at Sidon, and Julius," that was the centurion, "courteously entreated Paul, and gave him liberty to go unto his friends to refresh himself." So again, Paul has this great deal of freedom, considering that he's a prisoner. You're going to see he's going to become more and more, people will cut him more and more slack because they see what is going on with him and God. But right now, he can go see the converts and friends that he has here in this town. Verse 4, "And when we had launched from there, we sailed under Cyprus because the winds were contrary." So the sailing wasn't that good. Verse 5, "And when we had sailed over the sea of Cilicia and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, a city of Lycia." Verse 6, "And there the centurion found a ship of Alexandria sailing into Italy, and he put us thereon." So it sounds like it's going smooth. They made this connection with another ship that's going to take them to Italy. Verse 7, "And when we had sailed slowly many days, and scarce were come over against Cnidus, the wind not suffering us," it's not blowing, the wind's, it's dead, "we sailed under Crete against Salmone. So they're moving very slowly, very little wind, verse 8, and hardly passing it, just barely getting by, came unto a place which is called the Fair Havens, nigh whereunto was the city of Lasea. Now, Fair Havens, go look it up, check me out, always check me out, but it refers to the fact that this place has a very good harbor. That's the Havens, is very good harbor. Verse 9. Now, when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous, maybe it was bigger winds were coming now, because the fast was now already past, Paul admonished them. So they'd been fasting. This fast is referring to the fasting that took place at this time. If you look at the calendar, you can go back and see about where this would be. This would be the Day of Atonement. And we'll continue. This is Paul speaking, verse 10. And Paul said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the lading, not the stuff, the stuff that's on the ship and the ship, but also of our lives. So everything is going to be put in danger. He's telling them that God has shown him these things, and it was going to be a problem on this trip for the cargo and for the ship and for the people that were going along. Verse 11. Nevertheless, the centurion believed the master, captain of the ship, and the owner of the ship, more than those things which were spoken by Paul. Well, you can, at this point in time, things are going to change, but at this point in time, that's understandable. Verse 12. And because the haven, or the harbor, was not commodious to winter in, it wasn't any good for spending the winter in, the more part advised to depart thence also, if by any means they might attain Fience, and there be winter, which is a haven of Crete, a harbor of Crete, and lieth towards the southwest and the northwest. So this harbor that they're staying in, it's not suitable for the winter, and they were advised to sail and try to reach this other harbor. Verse 13. And when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, loosing thence they sailed close to Crete. Verse 14. But not long after, there arose against it a tempest wind called Euroclydon. A huge storm was brewing. It sounds like, from that word, much like a cyclone. Verse 15. And when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her dive. They had to let it go. Verse 16. And running under a certain island, which is called Claudia, we had much work to come by the boat. They couldn't get into this island, and they had a hard time getting the boat under control. 17. Which, when they had taken up, they used helps, chains and ropes, undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksands, strake sail, and so were driven. So Paul's saying that they had to use ropes and chains to strengthen the hull of the ship, but even so, they were afraid of getting blown in to land and then getting sunk in this soft sand along the beach of quicksand, which would have destroyed this ship. So they kept going. Verse 18. And we, being exceedingly tossed with the tempest. The next day they lightened the ship. They began throwing the cargo overboard. 19. And the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship, all the extra gear and equipment that they could find, they threw overboard to lighten the load. Verse 20. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, so it had been storming and cloudy, they hadn't seen the sun, they hadn't seen the stars, and no small tempest lay on us. It was huge. All hope that we should be saved was then taken away. It just didn't look good, friends. They thought it was over. It was all lost. Verse 21. But after long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them, amongst all the crew and all the prisoners and all the soldiers, and said, Sirs, ye should have hearkened unto me. You should have listened to me, and not have loosed from Crete. We should have stayed there, and to have gained this harm and loss. That's what caused it. You guys didn't listen to me. Verse 22. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. So here's another prophecy by Paul. He's obviously been shown by God that no man was going to die in this thing. They were going to lose the ship, but no man was going to die. Verse 23. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I belong to him, and whom I serve. 24. Saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar. And lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee. So here's a promise directly from God to Paul. He's not only going to make it to Rome, but all the people that are with him on this boat are going to make it through this thing. 25. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God that it shall be even as it was told to me. 26. Howbeit, we must be cast upon a certain island. So Paul is telling them that although we're all going to make it and everything's going to be okay, we've got to be shipwrecked on this island. And I've been told this by God. Now, as I said before, they're going to begin, these people are going to begin trusting Paul more and more. 27. But when the 14th night was come, as they were driven up and down in Adria, about midnight the shipmen deemed that they drew near to some country. Didn't know what. 28. And sounded. You know what sounding is? They drop the whatever they use to see how deep the water is right there where the ship is, starting again 28. And sounded and found it 20 fathoms. And when they had gone a little further, they sounded again and found it 15 fathoms. So it's getting shallower and shallower. They're at about 30 feet right now and in this storm and heading for this island. Verse 29. Then, fearing lest we should have fallen upon the rocks upon the coastline, they cast 4 anchors out of the stem and wished for the day. Verse 30. And as the shipmen, the sailors, were about to flee out of the ship, they were about to abandon the boat, when they had let down the boat into the sea, under color as though they would have cast anchors out of the foreship. So, again, they were in dire straits, and I mean, there wasn't much they could do. They were about to abandon ship. Verse 31. Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, except these abide in the ship, ye cannot be saved. So Paul's telling them, hey, if they leave the ship, it's over. 32. Then the soldiers cut off the ropes of the boat and let her fall off. They let it go free. They freed the ship. 33. And while the day was coming on, Paul besought them all to take meat, saying, this day is the 14th day that ye have tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing. So they'd been fasting for 14 days. 34. Wherefore I pray you to take some meat, eat, for this is for your health, for there shall not an hair fall from the head of any of you. Paul is promising them, hey, you guys eat, everything's going to be okay, we're all going to make it. God's told him. 35. And when he had thus spoken, when Paul had said this, he took bread and gave thanks to God in the presence of them all. And when he had broken it, he began to eat. Reminds you of something. 36. And then were they all of good cheer. The Holy Spirit, I believe, came upon them. And they also took some meat. 37. And when we were in all in the ship, 260 souls. You know how many that is, friends? That's a lot of people. It's 276 souls were aboard that ship. 38. And when they had eaten enough, everybody had eaten, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat into the sea. They threw the rest of the food overboard. They weren't going to need it. 39. And when it was day, they knew not the land. They didn't know where they were. But they discovered a certain creek with a shore, into the which they were minded, they were thinking, if it were possible to thrust in the ship. So they saw this creek and they picked that spot to try to land the ship. Verse 40. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves unto the sea, loosed the rudder bands, and hoisted up the mainsail to the wind, and made toward shore. Here they go, right for that creek. 41. And falling into a place where two seas met into that creek, they ran the ship aground, and the forepart stuck fast, the front stuck fast, and remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the waves. So they put that ship right into that creek. They made a safe landing, except the ship started to break up on them, and here they were shipwrecked, just as Paul told them. 42. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners. The soldiers wanted to off all the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out and escape. 43. But the centurion, willing to save Paul, kept them from their purpose. He put a stop to it, and commanded that they which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea and get to land. 44. And the rest, some on board, some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that they escaped all safe to the land, just as Paul had told them. Beloved, once again, through the power of God, Paul prophesied what was going to happen, and all survived. And Paul will be taken to Rome. You can count on it. I hope you can join us next time when we're going to finish this book of Acts. It's been a great ride, beloved. Until then, stay in His Word. It is the truth, beloved. It's the only truth that you can really depend on in this world of flesh. Your relationship with the Father in this last generation is going to help you as you grow it, beloved. He will protect you just as He protected Paul on this crazy ride to Rome. Please pray for us here at CCHW. I promise you, if you're studying with us, I'm praying for you every day. And stay in the field, planting those seeds, beloved. It's our job. And remember, one of the easiest ways for you to plant seeds is to share our teaching with your friends or your family that are searching for the truth, searching for God's truth in this world of flesh. Remember, if you want God's blessing, you've got to do His will. And I believe that we are currently in the 5th seal of the book of Revelation, as I have said many times. Go read it. It's where we are. It's obvious. And you know what happens next? It is the coming of the Antichrist. And what we are ordered by God to do in this 5th seal is participate in the sealing of God's truth within His children's minds. How do you do that? You share the Word. We need to keep working. We need to keep teaching. We need to keep sharing, beloved. Share our teaching, and you will share our blessings from God for participating in His work. And believe me, beloved, He blesses us greatly. God bless you. God bless yours. And remember, the elect will forge the path of the Lord in these end times.